to we'll take what we call in Qigong, it's called a Wuji Stance. So Wuji is an extension of Tao. So you have Tao, you have Wuji, and then it comes to human realm, there's Shen, Qi, and Jing. So Wuji is still in that, it would be considered a name for that undivided place where out of that space, the forces of Yin and Yang come into play and create everything that is. So we're gonna have the knees slightly soft. Our palms are gonna face back. I'm gonna create a little bit of gap between the arms and the ribs here. I like to close my eyes, but they don't have to be closed. But today's special Wuji is maybe also start to think of your favorite tree. I know some tree lovers are here together with me. And so you could start to feel your roots growing down. And I've just read this most amazing book. I'll give you the link, Overstory. And as I now think of it's about trees. As I now think of my roots, it's not just my roots, it's my roots moving down, spreading wide and far, connecting to your roots, connecting to the trees out around me, to that vast network. And again, that's not woo-woo, that's really how it is. And so let yourself feel imagine the roots and feel this idea that I spoke of before in this wood element, that when I'm rooted, when I have that connection, so my roots and the roots of my community, then that root system, that foundation allows me to bend to the winds of life. And then feel your trunk and also imagine your branches, so that reaching far out and wide up towards the heavens, to the space above. And not only communicating through roots, but also through like their whole beingness, this communication that happens between the trees. And so just sensing into that in your own way. Take a couple of more breaths here. Feeling into a sense of balance. And here also you could actually let yourself sway from side to side. See what your sway boundary is right now. So as you go from side to side, let there be some winds. And just take yourself out of balance, bringing yourself back towards center. And then as you land in your center again, we'll take 3 breaths where we'll circle the arms. So this movement of bringing the earth chi as the arms move to the sides and up on the inhale, and make it slow. My knees are still soft. And then bringing the heavenly chi in, down, as the arms move down through the front of the body, down towards the ground. And so in your own time, you're going to do 2 more rounds. So earth chi rising. And then that spirit heavenly chi descending. The upper dantian, the middle dantian, the lower dantian. And I'll do 1 more. And once you've done 3 rounds, then we're going to continue with some shaking. So a lot of the practice is also like from Qigong for the liver, has to do a lot of like purging and detoxifying, as this is what, we often do in the springtime to get the old out. So let yourself kind of shake out the long sit that I made you to do. And you could just do one hand, one leg, or get a bit of bounce happening. And how effortless can you make it? And again, eyes closed or open. We'll go for about a minute. So feel free to move from one leg to another. Maybe breath out through the mouth. How can you find that bounce? Just a few more. A little bit longer. And then coming to feel for a moment. So feeling that movement, that buzz inside. And then take your time rolling forward to a forward fold. So I'm going to go towards the back of my space. So I have some room here in the front, or you could actually be more towards the middle as well. Bend your knees however much you need. So as you come forward, remember if you know, the back line corresponds to the water element. So that's your urinary bladder line, and there's a fascial connection line that runs through the whole back body. So you might want to, if you like touch, you might stroke the backs of the legs. So touch is really wonderful to facilitate, again, that the flow of energy in the body. And if you like, you could also take your fists and tap onto the kidneys. So remember, the water is what feeds wood, is the mother. It's called the mother of wood, the creative cycle. So it's only when our water is full, the water element is full and in balance, that we have that healthy wood element there. So I'll spend a little moment to feeling into the backs of the legs, and again, in your own comfortable way, bringing in some touch if you wish. Let the head drop. Couple of breaths here again. There might be some purging breaths that want to go out with the sound, then let sound be like an expression of energy. And remember again how liver really wants you to express. And then I'll slowly slide the hands forward so I can bring my knees down onto the ground, and for a moment sitting back onto the heels. If that's not comfortable, bring some blocks under your seat. And as you come to your seat, just grounding down, I'm going to take my hands onto my shoulders, inhaling to the right, exhaling to the left, and then once more, starting to find this momentum that swings you from side to side. So this is more from Kundalini practice. Nice cleansing, clearing breath again. Twisting actions, also something that we kind of tend to do quite a bit in the springtime to detoxify. And you can make your breath a little bit more fiery. So again, think of that purging and clearing. So inhaling, and that exhale, you might blow it out through the nose a bit. And once more, find effortlessness. That swinging from side to side, my head moves in the same block with the spine. I close my eyes so I don't get dizzy. So give like that a couple of more rounds, side to side. Again, just giving a boost for the movement, the flow of qi, circulation. And then slowly let that pendulum movement start to fade out. And let your hands rest back onto your lap. And again, let us take a moment to feel, just sensing the interior and that buzz, that movement that maybe you can sense underneath the skin and deeper. We'll give it one more breath. And then I'll walk my knees apart so I create a little bit of space, and our liver lines and go through the inner leg. So that's what we are stimulating, the liver on the inner, and we have the gallbladder along the side body. I'll start with the liver just straight forward, coming down through the center. So you could have your forehead on the ground. You could also turn your head to one side, whatever feels more comfortable. Hands could reach, but I'm going to let them to soften down onto the ground. Take your awareness to the lower abdomen and just let yourself feel the breath there in the belly. But also remembering that there's a powerful energy center there in the lower abdomen, just below your navel. Lower dantian, an energy reservoir that is connected to the physical body. So letting your awareness just settle there and just feel sensation. So it's connected to the sensory information coming from the body, this body's sensory intelligence. And let yourself feel your physicality, the bones, the flesh. And for me, the springtime really is also about owning our sensitivity. So that curiosity, that playfulness, but also, yes, our sensitivity and in certain sense, I also believe our vulnerability. There's no way that we can take action and bring ourselves more visible out in the world without there needing to be some willingness to be vulnerable. And then I'll walk my hands back towards, and I'll turn this into a twist by taking the right hand under. So I'm threading the right hand under, taking the right ear down onto the ground. And what I like to do here is I'm going to bring my left palm on top of the right palm. And a couple of times I'm going to press the left hand down and kind of let my left shoulder, the top shoulder, roll a little bit more towards the ceiling, and then my chest curls back down towards the ceiling. So there's just like this little bit of rocking. So I'm pressing the left hand on top of the right hand, and I'm letting my rib cage kind of rotate a little bit more into the twist, and then sink back down towards the ground. Just a couple of times, giving myself this little inner rocking sensation. And then after a couple of rounds, let yourself just sink into a more still hold, and that left hand could just rest in front. It could also wrap around your back. So whatever feels more comfortable for that left shoulder. It could also stay left palm on top of the right palm, of course. And once more, there's physical sensation. Maybe again playing with holding that awareness, letting your awareness settle in that lower navel area, and relaxing the belly completely. Give it another breath. And then I'm going to bring the left hand down onto the ground, pressing it down, right hand down onto the ground as well, and then walking onto all fours. take a couple of cat and cows, possibly also consider, rather than moving your rib cage up and down, circle your ribs. So feel like a liver on the right side wants to move over to the right, down, and to the left. So the ribs are moving. And in a moment, I'm going to give you an instruction. You're going to turn away. The movement takes you away from facing the front of the mat. So see if you can be maybe okay with that, having a little bit of a different direction, a different visual. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take the right leg and I'm going to stretch it back behind. I'm going to a couple of times hug the knee to chest and reach it back. So I'll just do that maybe one more time. So knee hugs into the chest and then back. And then I'm going to let the knee move across the chest over towards the left. I'm going to thread the leg through. So right leg moves over to the left side. I'm going to bring my left hand off the mat, tucking the back toes under, and then I'm going to pivot myself. So I'm going to sit in wide-legged seat, and I'm now facing in a different direction. I'm going to take the left hand inside the right leg. So I'm sitting wide-legged. Left hand is on the inside of the right leg. And then right hand is going to lean up and over. And maybe you'll do a couple of times coming out and leaning back in. So coming into a lateral stretch. Any support that you want here, like a block under that left elbow, or that top hand can rest over your head or wrap behind your back. But I'm thinking here of that lateral line, that gallbladder line that moves through the side body. So it covers your ribs on either side of your shoulder, a little bit into the chest, into the side of the neck. So I'm going to let my head drop. I'm going to keep the legs relaxed. And for another minute or so, letting myself into the side body here. So the right side is lengthening. So I know that that transition was a little bit different, but that also is something about the spring and wood element for me, is this taking a different route, trying out new things without knowing the outcome. So that's the vulnerability again. Being courageous always kind of has that certain element of vulnerability in it. Putting yourself out there, being visible and being seen. I think that vulnerability comes with the territory. And so in our practice, kind of, I like to really let go of like, this is the front of the mat, this is the back of the mat, this is how I move, and try out like more circular, as life is more spirals and circles than some very linear movements. And I'll give it a couple of more rounds for the site to breathe. If at any point you want to move from that lateral stretch and more rotate your chest over that left leg, then you could. So as always, you can adapt, you can adjust. The knees can be bent. And I'll give it another good like 3-4 breaths here. Beautiful. Give it another breath in. Another breath out. If you have the arm up, let the arm start to settle down. If you had folded forward, let yourself walk, press the ground away, walk away from that left leg and pause in seated for a moment. Face the direction you're facing, that's fine. You don't have to see the screen. Keep your legs relaxed and just notice that right side. Again, the sensations, the physical sensations of the body. And then I'm going to start to walk my hands over towards the top, so to speak, again, or over to the right again. So I'm going to let both feet also fall over to the right. So both hands come and face over to the right. My chest faces over to the right. Now I need to press down a little bit, tucking the back toes under to get that right knee and bring it behind the right wrist for a pigeon. So from the upper body line, we're now going to go to the lower part of the gallbladder line. And any variation of swan pose or leaning over to that right side. Remember, you can bring that left knee in. So I'll turn around so that you can see me. So my right knee is bent and the left knee could stay all the way at the back of the mat. You could bring that right heel in, but also you could bend into that back knee and let it come more forward. We call it deer pose. Our main target is the right buttock, the outer thigh. So in whatever way you can get some sensation, bodily sensation in that right buttock that's not too intense, that's not bothering that right knee, whatever that shape ends up looking like doesn't matter. So play around with it a little bit. So my right knee is forward. My left knee can be, or left leg can be all the way back or to the side. I could be higher up with my torso, or I could be all the way down. My torso could be over to the right, or my torso could be over a little bit to the left, or at the center. So again, let's give it again a couple. We have time. We have time for not so long stays, but somehow that also seems to me to correspond to the wood phase. And often it is said that for some people, the wood practices that are a lot around the hip area, because we have that inner thigh and outer thigh where those energy lines are running, that the wood practices can sometimes leave us a little bit like irritated, or can bring out some irritation, not for everyone, but sometimes. So if that's happening, how can you bring in that practice of compassion, self-compassion? That being the virtue, the sign of the healthy spirit of liver, han, compassion. Let's give it another 5 breaths. Noticing what surfaces. Bringing your compassion to whatever you can, whatever you're meeting it from that place of allowing, accepting, making space. And then let us slowly begin to release. And the release could be downward facing dog. It could be child's pose. It could be movement on all fours. So just tune in or let your body guide you somewhere. That same sequence for the opposite side in a moment. So giving again that rebound, that introspective moment for you to sense and feel more things we did on that right side. So maybe awareness of the right side versus the left side. And so it is only as we create this inner sensitivity that we can begin to live according to our inner rhythms. When we listen to the body as it tells us about the times of inspiration and times of rest. I'm going to come back to wide knee child's pose with the left hand threading under. So getting ready for those 3 postures on the other side. And as you thread the left hand under, there was that option is initially before you settle in to bring the top hand, right hand on top, and then just have a little rock here. I simply gently press the top hand down, right hand down. My right elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling. And then I'm just kind of pressing my chest away from the hands and letting it drop. So it's the right shoulder kind of moving away from the hands. And so I just let my ribs get a bit more unstuck and fluid. And then maybe after a couple of those, you feel like you then want to just settle into a yin shape to receive the shape. More passive. Settling onto the ground and letting the hips get heavy. Once more in this shape, I like to feel the lower belly, encouraging the belly to relax. And again, that center there just below the navel. Often the Taoist energy practices involve bringing the earth chi in on the inhales. And then on the exhales, it's storing it here in the lower abdomen. So again, using our mind, our intention, our awareness to circulate chi. And then give it another breath in, a breath out. Press the right hand in front of your face. Let yourself travel back. Take your time to come to all fours. And again, consider rather than up and down, maybe circle. Find circular movement for the ribs. You could do up and down. There's no harm in that. Circle one way, circle the other way. Again, just think of that liver, gallbladder there on the right side, right below the ribs there. And then I'll send my left leg back behind. I'll squeeze it into a chest just maybe twice. So reaching it back, crown of the head forward, hugging it in. And then there was that weird transition as the left knee comes across the body. And then I have to shove it a little bit to start to move it over to the right side. I come to the right fingertips, I tuck the back toes under, and then I pivot myself to seated. Usually we do this movement from downward facing dog in active ways. So now we just translated it into a yin language. Right hand in front, I'm going to continue with that left side now. So feeling into that side body, upper part of the gallbladder line, upper part of the whole side line, side lateral fascial line. And you could bring in a couple of movements that just really let you feel into it yourself. Do you want to move here to feel? And again, knowing that that's what the wood element is about, this movement, but also I can come and hold steady and give that movement through intention, moving in different areas of the body. So movement doesn't necessarily mean that I actually have to move. I can do this internal energy work here as well. And find comfort in the neck. So maybe looking down rather than up. And at any point where you want to turn this one into more folding over that right leg, I let you decide that. I'll give it another 3-4 breaths. And then let us slowly walk back to the center. Pause at the center. Just giving it a couple of breaths here to feel that left side. Movement, circulation, the skin of the body, and then going deeper, the pulsation. And then I'll start to face back. So if you had a top of the mat, top or to my left. So my left hand comes to the outside of the left hip. The toes are going to start to turn to the left. The right hand comes next to the left. And then I'll turn so that I can tuck those back toes under, lift for a moment. It's a bit more dynamic. And then I drag my left knee behind the left wrist and starting to find the shape for now that lower half of the gallbladder line. So outer thigh, buttock, so ITB band there on the side. And once more, it doesn't have to look the same way as it did on the previous side. That's totally fine to have it look different. Hips are different. So tune in, sensitivity, right? Sensitivity, noticing the bodily sensations. What we're tuning in is also this body's intelligence that's continuously communicating to us. And then finding that edge, finding that pause, and tuning in. There might be a moment of reflection so that you just kind of determine where in the cycle might you be internally, and knowing that nothing's static, everything is constantly changing, so it's not in any type of like value judgment. We have, I love the cycle in terms of a plant life, so the seed in the ground being that water element, being that phase of hibernation, germination, the potential there, the whole of the tree, the blueprint is right there in that very seed, but it's not the time yet. It's protected, it's in darkness, it's the greater yin, absolute yin. And then when the sprout starts to rise, the springtime, that's where I relate it to vulnerability, that sprout, tender, green, but also vulnerable to the elements. So the importance of boundaries actually becomes really clear if we think of it in these terms. The fast growing towards the light, coming to the full expression, fruition would be that phase of fire, the summer, the midday sun. But I said in the phase of the fire, in that full young, it's more about like preserving and really enjoying that fullness of expression. So it's really in that wood phase, that springtime, where most of the growth happens, development, expansion, movement. And as I said, Earth is really that transition time. So sometimes it's really also targeted seasonal changes corresponding to Earth, but also the time of the harvest, the late summer, the fullness of bloom, the abundance. And then the composting, the withering, the letting go of the leaves and seeds back into the ground, the metal element, the discernment, like what's actually essential to keep and what we let go of. And then the cycle begins again. What we let go of becomes the compost, the fertile ground that then nourishes the new seed, the new growth. I'm going to take another breath. And then slowly, as you walk up this time, I'm going to lean left side so that I can bring the right leg and circle it forward. And then getting ready to lie on your back. We are at 8:30. So if you can, stay with me for like a 4 or 5 minute Shavasana. If you know that you have time for a longer one, then maybe silence me and take however long you need. And if you know that you have to go at this point, maybe give it just a minute, a seated meditation to let go of this last shape, and then taking your time. So if you're staying with me, find some comfort, warmth. Let yourself settle onto your back and see what props you want here. Or if there's any other resting position, yeah, Melanie, that's great. Bringing your legs up on your sofa is great. And then take a moment. Again, a moment to feel the physical shape, to feel the body, the sensations. Letting there be a sense of rootedness here. The sense of rootedness for me also correlates to my sense of belonging. And for me, I can always find my sense of belong. I kind of like me belonging to the earth. So if I sometimes can't find my people or my place in society, but I go into the forest and I can find my people, so to speak, my tree people in the forest. I belong to the earth. So you can feel the back body, and even though you probably a few stories away from the earth, you could still imagine the ground, the earth, and the settling to something that has intelligence. Letting yourself be held in this larger network of life. Letting your roots mingle with other roots. Rest is really important to liver health. It's one of the organs that also takes a big hit from stress. And so feel your breath rhythm really moving into a gentle, nourishing inward and outward flow that's unrushed. That connection to breath bringing presence. And again, that presence is what nourishes and connects. And as you settle here, let me be your Hun, your liver spirit, bringing once more in this message. I live honoring my inner rhythms. Then I give and serve from an overflowing cup. Therefore, I am tapped into my creativity. So those who can stay longer, maybe consider staying a bit longer. And if you know that you have to move into your day and evening, then see if you could simply bring a couple of breaths in and see what movement wants to come, if any, so that you can make your transition really slow and gradual. Possibly rolling over to one side and then using that metaphor of the sprout rising from the ground as you let your spine curl up to rise up from that seed. And then just a moment here, connecting your roots again, feeling that stability. And once more, I love this idea that having that rootedness, that foundation, is what creates that stable place from which we can bend, from where we can be flexible, adaptable, meet change. And then if there is a gesture that you like to finish with, so it could be palms together or hands touching to heart. I have a gesture I like to bow, so you could join me, or you could simply do, as I say, whatever your little ritual is. I bow in gratitude, and I bow as a reminder for me to be humble. So please join me in this, or make this your own. And then as I roll up, I say, thank you, thank you, thank you.